All right, and welcome back to the forecast card. Fortunately, 1-4 on the day, but the sport has been really fucking me lately. A lot of times these games have been so close, but I'm always on the wrong side of the final 2 minutes of every single game, which has been really frustrating. But hopefully we can get back on track soon enough. My season record has been pretty good, but it doesn't really feel like it, if I'm being honest. So let's go through each of these games yesterday. Maryland, the game that I probably should have covered out of all of them the most. They just shot so poorly from the free throw line. 22 of 34, sub 65%. On the other side, Rutgers shot above 80%, 26 for 31. The free throws end up being the difference this game. This should have been a blowout. Both teams are shooting their average free throw percentage. Just one of those games. And then if you look at the last minute, they were winning this game. They were covering. And then Rutgers, some random guy off the bench, Jay Davis, his first bucket is a three, and that three ends up being the difference in the free throw battle, and they end up only winning by 9. So, pretty shitty hook. Xavier game, this game was close the entire game, literally neck and neck. I think Xavier was even leading at some points with 10 minutes left, and then Xavier just wasn't able to score. Villanova just kept drilling their threes, getting and ones over and over again. And they had like 6 and ones. But yeah, Xavier just got outplayed straight up. Villanova shot perfect from the free throw line. Had almost doubled the amount of turnovers. Villanova shot perfect from 3. They shot above 50%. They just played a good game. It looked close for most of the game, but yeah, Villanova just pulled away. Arizona State, this game, I don't really like to mark it as a true loss because their star player, Freeman, is benched for some kind of detrimental behavior bullshit right before the game started. Obviously, I post these at night, so nothing I could stop it. But yeah, I wouldn't take this game if the lead scorer, especially at this line, if Arizona State's number one guy is not playing. So pretty shitty all around. Not really much you could say there. Just unlucky injury news that kind of screwed that bet before it even started. Wichita State, that game was basically back and forth. Surprised it actually ended up going my way considering how that game was looking. But luckily Wichita State kind of pulled away. They were basically dominating the boards. They had almost double the boards of USF, and that kind of led to 15 more shot attempts. So I think this was definitely the right side. And the fact that it was close is kind of insane. Mostly led to the fact that I don't even know how the game was closed. Looking at this matchup, I guess they just shot so poorly from inside the paint. That was the difference. Because they had 15 more shot attempts, but the same amount of field goals made in this game. So, shitty one. And the final game, Ohio State, another one, basically neck and neck all game until the final 4 or 5 minutes. I think it was, looking here, it was basically a tie game with 3.5 minutes left. And then Nebraska just ran away, scoring on every single drive. It is what it is. Again, another game where Nebraska shot over 85% from the line. Ohio State shot 60%. So free throws kind of been screwing me a lot lately, but it is what it is. I generally think that they could easily be 5-0 if different circumstances change. At least 4-1. I think Xavier was the wrong side, but anyway, it is what it is. Hopefully these shitty games kind of bounce back our way eventually, but let's get into the 5 games that I like for tomorrow. All right, heading into game number 1, we have North Carolina heading on the road to play Clemson. Now, on paper, Clemson is by far the better team here, but from my deep analysis on trends, especially trends to kind of keep an eye out for, the most valuable one in terms of ATS percentage is absolutely the letdown spot. And that's traditionally when a team comes off a massive underdog outright win. They tend to underperform the game after. So I think this North Carolina team is terrible, but they have played a much harder schedule than Clemson. On paper, though, Clemson is the better team. Better offense, better defense. But I think North Carolina can show up here against a Clemson team. They're just coming off a massive outright win against Duke. I think UNC shows up big time here. So I'm not sure if they're going to win the game, but I do think they can keep it close enough. If Clemson does win, it's probably going to come down to the wire. So I'm hoping UNC kind of just drains their their mid-range shots, get some boards, and hopefully Clemson's not shooting too well coming off that big win. So give me UNC here as the 5.5-point underdogs. All right, heading on to game number 2, we have Florida A&M head on the road to play Prairie View A&M. Now this is mostly what I would call a model game. I have this game PVM to win by 5, so I'm just gonna trust that the numbers are seeing stuff. The one thing that Prairie View does do is they force turnovers, and they don't turn the ball over. They're one of the better teams, almost top 100 in not giving up turnovers, and they're almost a top 100 team in forcing turnovers. While Florida A&M is bottom 300, outside the top 300 in both of those stats. So I think that's going to be a difference here. Both these teams can't shoot the ball well, but I really do like points off of steals because traditionally, even mediocre basketball players can hit open layups unless you're Angel Reese. But yeah, this is just I think a great spot for a Prairie View team that's been playing kind of poorly, and FM team that's been playing a little bit, in my opinion, above their pay grade. So give me PVAMU here. Disgusting game, but I do think Prairie View will win this game at home. All right, heading into game number 3, we have Northwestern State head on the road to play Nicole's. I really love this spot for Nicole's team. I don't think they're really phenomenal, but they have been playing really well lately, including a pretty good win against McNeese and 2 pretty dominant wins at home against some pretty bad teams, kind of similar to Northwestern State. And this Nicole's team has proven that they love the revenge spot, and they play better in the revenge spot. If you look at any game where they've played the same team twice, notably losing to McNeese and then crushing McNeese, I think this is another fantastic spot for them to do a very similar thing. Northwestern State back in early January actually beat them outright by 2 in Northwestern State's actual home where they shot really poorly. And now they're coming back to their home court while they're playing some of their best basketball on a solid 4-win streak, while Northwestern State has dropped 3 of their last 4. Yeah, I think we're getting Nicole's in a great spot. They, on paper, don't necessarily play better at home, but their last 5 games, they've been almost a top 100 team, while Northwestern State still kind of hanging around the borderline top 300. And this Nicole's team, the category that they play almost the best against is these teams, almost in the bottom 300. So we got the revenge angle, the better team. Matchup-wise, I think Nicole's is going to defend really well. The 2 shots that Northwestern State likes to take are mostly threes in near basket. Nicole's is a top 100 defensive team in both of those categories. And if we want to let them shoot their mid-range shots, they can. On the other side, Nicole's, they're going to find a lot of success from deep, and they're also going to find a lot of success in forcing turnovers against a pretty shitty Northwestern State team. So Nicole's here to dominate at home to cover this 6.5 spread. All right, and looking on to the 4th game, we have UT Rio Grande Valley head on the road to play SFA. Now this line stinks a little bit to me because I do think this UTRGV team is the better team. On paper, I think they're going to force a shit ton of turnovers. They're a top 100 team in forcing turnovers, and SFA is outside of the top 300 in giving up turnovers. So I think this is a phenomenal spot. UTRGV is coming off 2 losses. They're yet to lose 3 games in a row this year. SFA is coming off 2 wins. I think we're getting the better team on the road against SFA, who's coming off 2 pretty solid looking wins. Kind of arguably a bit of a letdown spot. But yeah, if you look into the situational trends, this SFA team is not covering at home. They're 1-7 as home favorites, while this UTRGV team is 5-1 against road dogs. And everything to me is kind of pointing to this being an awesome spot here for this UTRGV team to cover. After a loss, they're 5-2 against the spread. They've just lost twice in a row. And this SFA team, yeah, I really don't think that they're going to be able to show up big time in this game. I think they're going to turn the ball over. UTRGV is a pretty solid defensive team. They're going to find some success on their mid-range and near basket, even though SFA does defend the 3 decently well. I do think UTRGV, the difference here is going to be how well that they force teams to struggle. So. And turn the ball over. So I think UTRGV could probably win this game outright, but this just seems like a slam spot for me on the road. So give me UTRGV plus the 3 points. All right, heading on to game number 5, we have NCAT heading on the road to play Campbell. Now, in my opinion, this is a phenomenal spot for this Campbell team. Obviously, I don't think that NCAT is that bad of a team, but this Campbell team has been playing incredibly well. And I really like their chance here to completely shit on this NCAT team. If you look at the last 5 rating for this Campbell team, they've been a top 50 team in terms of how well they've been playing. In conference rating, they've been a top 100 team in the conference. And NCAT on the other side, they are outside the top 300. They haven't even been getting lucky. Like, they're not due for that much regression. They're just a straight up bad team. And this Campbell team, when the category of teams they play the best against are these really bad teams. They know they need to get wins against them, and they absolutely show up. Now, if you look at this Campbell's team, they're coming off a 6-win streak. They're playing some of their best basketball. They're beating pretty good teams too, and by a lot. They just crushed a Hofstra team, one of the best defensive teams in the conference, by 23 points at home. They beat a pretty solid Elon team by 8 points at home. They dominated William and Mary by like 40 points. They beat Hofstra by 2 on the road again. They dominated Stony Brook on the road. They dominated Monmouth on the road. They lost to Charleston in a close match, and they lost to Elon. Now, I just think we're getting this Campbell team at the top, at the peak heat, as a peak heater. They've had a lot of rest, 4 days to rest here. You could argue maybe they've cooled off a bit, but I think they're just playing incredible basketball. On the other side, NCAT, they do typically try to keep games pretty close, but they're coming off a disgusting 10-game loss streak. I think these teams are going in completely different directions. Yeah, I don't know. I just think this is a spot where Campbell can actually blow the doors off of this NCAT team. If you look at matchup-wise, Campbell, they haven't really played a very tough competition, but they're a pretty solid team. If you look at where they're a top 100 defense, that's where they kind of clamp. NCAT, they shoot a decent amount of threes. 37% of their shots come from the arc, and this is a Campbell team that defends the 3 at the 10th best in college basketball. If you want to let them shoot their mid-range and near basket shots, we can go ahead. They're outside the top 300 in those type of shots. They're not going to get to the line very much. And this Campbell team also defends their own boards. They don't turn the ball over that much. Yes, they are a little bit inconsistent, but right now they're very consistent. And I'm just going to kind of ride the hot hand. If you look on the other side, this Campbell team offensively is going to find a ton of success. Again, they're not really known to be a significant offensive team, but NCAT is not that great of a defensive team. They're outside the top 300 defensively as well. I think Campbell's going to find a lot of points off steals. They're going to get a ton of points on the mid-range, but they just have so much momentum right now, man. Like, they are playing insane basketball, and they're feeling themselves. They're climbing up the ratings. They're moving up to CAA. NCAT 4-20, no motivation to play. And on top of all this Campbell team has been covering this number consistently. So, yeah, I think Campbell will continue to show up in these games. They're going to score easily against a terrible NCAT defense. I think this line is a little bit too small. Yeah, give me Campbell to just completely crush this pretty shitty NCAT team here. All right, and in terms of my bonus bet, I think I'm going to take Texas A&M CC on the road here. This is just another revenge game spot. I think Texas A&M CC on paper is the better team. Lamar team, if you look at any kind of shot quality site, they are due for a lot of regression, so you're not really sure when to bet them. But I do think this Texas A&M CC team is the slightly more talented squad. They've been pretty good all year, and now they just lost to this Lamar team by like 8. They got kind of crushed by them, and now we're getting them on a good revenge spot. The better team on a revenge spot is a spot I really like to bet, especially when we're getting points with them. The line does stink a little bit. That's why it wasn't on my official picks, but I'll probably kind of maybe throw it in there. Moving forward, I do tend to add games like for NFL or NBA or whatever. Always check my pinned comment. I'm going to start adding my other bets because lately those have been my best bets, if I'm being honest. NBA and NFL have been kind of keeping me afloat, especially NBA. I think I'm on like a 27-6 run in terms of totals and spreads. So we finally had our first losing day 2 days ago, but I think my current system, especially when kind of watching line movement to catch injuries a little bit earlier, it's been working really well for me. So that's everything for today. If you have any questions on any games down below, let me know. And hopefully we have a solid, much needed bounce back day here in college basketball.